Okay, so this is about um, the the representation, the visual representation of plants and animals, and it's about um, changes in which forms of representation are most used. So, um, because the previous uh, sentence talks about
Mm.
woodcuts, one medium. Um, it makes sense that we're moving through time. So with the growing popularity of copperplate engravings, the traditional use of woodcuts declined. So even though strictly speaking, there's a growing number of engravings, the focus is actually on which is more popular or more commonly used. So that's why popularity is a slightly better choice there. So the traditional use of woodcuts declined and the representation of plants and animals became more. And this is again about the differences between woodcuts and engravings, about the differences between medium, accurate here. Uh, so an engraving is a very detailed uh, illustration in a piece of copper that someone has prepared, which can then be printed onto paper successfully. So um, there's this sense that that's more accurate or more precise uh, here. Um, and it doesn't make sense to say that something could be more dictated either. So dictated, if something's dictated, it's been spoken. It can't be more or less spoken. So accurate makes sense because it's about the medium of an engraving versus the medium of a woodcut print. An engraving is a more advanced technology. Uh, then the next sentence, with the emergence of artists such as Dürer and Da Vinci, naturalists such as Brunfels, Fuchs in botany, and Conrad, Gessner, and Aldrovandi in zoology, nature began to be depicted in a more realistic style. So this is furthering our sense that accuracy is part of the overall story that they're telling. It's becoming more realistic. Individual living plants or animals were observed directly and their likeness rendered. So it's about representation. So to render something is to transform it and transfer it at the same time. So rendering it onto paper is to transform it from what you've seen into an illustration. Now, I think text rendering means presenting or giving a new form. Um, so it is, let me see, it's transferring
Mm.
state. Um, so it's like to render something visually is to take it from one medium and put it in another. Like in computer graphics, they talk about 3D rendering, the way in which the three-dimensional objects. So in it's actually a verb that has lots and lots of meanings. Render. Yeah, so it's kind of transforming all of the two-dimensional components into a three-dimensional
Mm.
image. It's transforming, so it's a synthesis process.
To make it
Um,
beautiful.
yeah, so, and it's something similar in the example that you're looking at. That is, it's a transformation and a transferal. So you're doing both. You're transferring the meaning from what you've observed onto the page, and you're changing it at the same time. It's no longer what you've seen. It's now also um, a representation. Yeah, it basically just made you speechless. It transformed you into a state of speechlessness. There's like there are lots and lots of different definitions of render that it's used in lots of different situations. Um, I think it I actually don't know what it's um so to cause someone or something to be in a particular state, it could be all sorts of different things. So if someone's rude to you, it might cause you to stop speaking. So it renders you speechless. But also, if I render an image on a page, I'm causing it to go from my observation to the page. Um, it's also used to talk about transformations. Um, well, it's changed the status of your old computer. So it's taken it from one category, which is that it's useful, and it's put it in another. It's obsolete.
From here to here. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a particular way of saying that it has made your computer out of date. Uh, Render is a I think it comes up um, a lot in relation to the visual, and that's why it's talked about here. Rendering a likeness is putting it on the page or transforming it from the observed or the visible into the represented. Now, I don't know exactly what vellum is, but I think it might be um, an older technology used instead of paper, and I suspect it comes from animals. It's made from like animal products.
Vellum. We call it
Vellum.
vellum.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So what happens is their likeness is like it's their it's a good representation. So someone's likeness is something that looks like them. Usually it's a deliberate portrait or another attempt to represent them accurately. So this is this theme of accuracy that comes up throughout this passage. So to talk about someone's likeness is to talk about like their portrait or a picture that's similar to them. And it's often used in relation to illustration or painting that is unlike photography, because we tend to assume that photography is accurate. But whether or not you can draw something accurately is about your skill. Right? Yeah. So the different the different ways in which animals and plants have been represented um, in illustration, but also in different media for illustration. So the older ones are things like woodcuts. And if you know what a woodcut is, you're basically cutting into the surface of a block of wood to create a pattern, and then you use ink or paint to press that onto a page. So it doesn't have the same accuracy.
is it
Yeah.
this one?
Yeah, so that sort of like that one there is a very elaborate one. It's a very high
This one.
quality one. Yeah. So it's been very carefully created. That's maybe a less
Accurate.
detailed one.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay. So they use
Um,
the wood and they carve it on that.
that's right. They carve it and
They
then
carve
you
it.
can print it. You can
Mm.
print with it. So these are all about ways that print because I mean an individual person could draw an individual animal.
Mhm.
But they can't distribute that drawing. So woodcuts is one way you can distribute it by printing it on multiple pages. But copper plate engravings are even more, potentially more detailed.
The reason
Okay,
that
so it's it's just a less good choice
okay, I got
in the
it.
full context because we're gradually moving from one medium being used more to another medium
Mhm.
being used more. It's
Mhm.
not actually that number doesn't work.
Mhm.
It's just that popularity is more the concept that's at stake here.
Yeah, great. And also regarding the vellum, let me show you. We're searching. It's not important. It's like a paper like this. I think it's made from animal. I
That's
don't
right.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before paper, there was parchment, which is also made of plants, and then there's also vellum.
Yeah.
And I think you can make maybe vellum, you can make it transparent
Yeah.
as well, so you can use it for other purposes.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Thank you.